welcome to Sleepdrunk.
Where I have discovered that flashlights work and blinded myself.
Congratulations, Alavi. What a wonderful discovery. I think you deserve the Nobel Prize.
For context, on my waveform, like on my, not my waveform, my meter for my audio, there's like a green bar, a yellow bar, and a red bar, right? The green looks yellow. And it's a bit scary. Oh, I just accidentally turned on. So I guess on today's episode of Sleep Drunk, Alex and I are going to be talking about the Grand Tour season 3. We're going to give our own little overview review type thing. So after that, we'll be giving some updates. We had some interesting weeks. Something interesting happened to me today, which I will talk about at some length. And we'll end it off, hopefully, if we don't end up faffing about for eternity, stuff we hate. The long-awaited segment we have shelved 4 times.
Okay, you were insisting that we were going to do it this last episode, and I didn't think we were going to make it, but apparently we did. So
I hope to God we do. Okay.
If we don't, it's going to be a bit of a meme at this point. Like it is. If we don't make it into this one, we have to keep pushing it back just because why not?
Yeah, also, a listener complained that my lips are smacking too much. And so I'll try and reduce that, and maybe you'll hear less smacking. Also, while we're talking of viewers,
maybe I can add some smacking, and we can double smack.
Yes. Quick notice. I noticed we have a few listeners in Japan. So what's up? I checked our analytics.
To Japan.
Yeah, and also like Finland. So maybe we'll talk about that more during the weekly update. So
hopefully you're not just like a bot. That kind of
suck. What's up? Well, let's talk about the Grand Tour then, Alex. Do you want to take your first bit of opinion, or should I?
If you haven't seen the Grand Tour Season 3, actually, okay, so what kind of things are we going to say? Are we going to spoil it?
We'll probably do a spoiler-free section, like a non-spoiler, like that, something like that. You'll find out if you look in the chapter section of your podcast play. You'll find out whether or not we did
use
spoilers.
The chapters. It'll help you. Yeah. I don't have too terribly much to say about it. I think it was better than seasons past. They definitely made some improvements. I'm a huge fan of the show. It's one of the only TV shows that I watch. I mean, it's not even really a TV show, but like it is.
Okay, for a bit of context, for those who don't know, the Grand Tour is an Amazon Prime original series, which is the spiritual successor to the golden age of Top Gear, which was a British motoring show that ran for, I think, 15 seasons. So,
Top Gear... A lot of people watch Top Gear for the entertainment and not even for the car show. So like you can watch it for both. It's not a super in-depth car show, but it like to the point where you feel completely alienated if you don't know anything about cars. It's just a great laugh, a gaff.
Actually, faff. I got into it without much knowledge of cars. Like I really didn't know cars before I started watching it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge car person myself. I know my way around a car, but that's about where it stops. And that's still an infinitely entertaining show for me. But it's what incredible. Happened was, in case you aren't aware of this either, Jeremy Clarkson, one of the 3 presenters on the show, the main presenter, he kind of may or may not have slugged a producer at the BBC, and then all of a sudden they got fired.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and so then Amazon scooped them up and created the Grand Tour.
Yes, so then Amazon created the Grand Tour, which was the, like he said, spiritual successor to the to the golden age of Top Gear.
Yeah, because Top Gear's still going, but it's not the same.
Top Gear is just a sad, pitiful mess.
I have heard. In its defense, it's gotten better. It's hit its stride. I've heard that. I have a friend that watches it.
It'll never be the same. Yeah, it's all about the personalities. And that's another reason why I always preferred the British Top Gear over the American Top Gear. Because it was just better.
It's bad. Yeah. But I think overall, I feel like this was the most refined season of the Grand Tour so far. Like, in previous seasons, I found there was a lot of stuff that you just kind of skip. Like, I don't think I ever skipped a single segment this season. So first season, there was stuff like Celebrity Brain Crash, which was, they tried to make a bit of a meme and it just kind of sucked. Like, they joke about having a celebrity guest and then kill them. Like, not actually, but like blow up a dummy or something. And I just and then they tried to succeed that after the first season.
I've never skipped any bit of it, but I didn't think it was particularly good. Like, it was dumb. I'll give them that. But also they figured that out and cut it out in the next season. That was season 1.
Yeah, that was season. And then they followed it up in season 2 with Celebrity F-Off, which short for Face Off, which was better. It was better. But I think I still skipped a couple. Whereas they'd have...
It still wasn't super interesting. It was
the 2 most famous people who have done something
Something
drive,
benign,
like race
not
in, I think
benign,
it was like an
mundane.
F-Type. Wasn't it an F-Type? I think they had to race Jaguar F-Type. Well, they had to race around the track.
They did all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
And then they like, oh, yeah, no, yeah, they would race. Oh, yeah. It was always the same car.
Yeah, it was a Jaguar F-Type.
Yes, it was a Jaguar F-Type.
Yeah, that's what they raced.
But was it a Jag?
The F-Type's not a Jag.
It's not. It's just a Jaguar.
for our non-car people, okay?
Watch the show. Watch the show.
Quick
and if you're Michael,
explanation, right?
just screw yourself. Get Prime. I know he doesn't listen to this. There's a reason why he left. It's because he just really doesn't care. But
let's not get into that. I feel like that's a talk for another day. But for context, all Jags are Jaguars, but by no means is every Jaguar a Jag. A Jag is driven by the kind of guy who drives to your house.
I think this is a bit
leaves
faffy.
With your wife's jewelry. Borrowing. But they might not get it back. But that's point aside.
They explain it better. I think you should just watch the show.
They do. But like I was saying, this is, I feel like, the most, like, they really hit this season on the head. Like, they hit the nail on the head with the season. Because it was everything I like about, like, the trio. Like, about Top Gear, about, like, car shows. Like, yeah, cars are great. I love cars. They're cool. It's nice to see old British guys drive cars really fast. But also...
But only because they're entertaining old British guys.
Yeah. But also because it's the way they interact with each other and the situations they put themselves in. Because...
Indeed.
For example...
That's why the specials are specials. Like, they're top tier.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I think I marked out a little extra side for that. But, like, I think a good example is in the... this is not a huge spoiler, because it's pretty minor. There's, at some point in the season, there's a bit where one of the hosts, Richard Hammond, gets very mad at a car. And so he just kind of takes a baseball bat and smashes it. It just gets really mad. And just watching him go off like that, it's really nice because he's a funny person and it gives a lot of personality. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to review this car. No,
he's also an accident-prone midget.
He's an accident-prone. Yeah, a recurring theme in the show is Richard Hammond getting in accidents.
And that happened because in season 2, the filming of season 2, he got in a pretty major accident that could have killed him.
Yeah, and also blew up a very expensive car.
Yes, he did.
A very expensive car.
Now, the people that insure the cars that they drive now lots of times specify that the accident-prone midget isn't allowed to drive it.
I think they were specifically even said, like, yeah, Hammond can't drive. Which car was it that they put off balance?
It was the old Porsche.
Yeah, it was the old Porsche, wasn't it? It was.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Porsche,
I guess,
like what, 917?
Yeah, 917. It was the racing car, the Formula. I think it was Formula 3. No, it wasn't an F1 car.
No, it was not an F1.
Yeah, but yeah, it was an old Porsche. Also, really great bit. They had one of the classic drivers for that car take it around the track.
Yes, they did.
And he did really good in that. Like, he was like 70. Like, he had liver spots and almost no hair. But goddamn could he race.
I mean,
he burned rubber.
As they say, once you go black, you never go back. Wait, but that doesn't apply.
It
anyway.
Just doesn't. There's no circumstance in that scenario where that phrase could apply. That's like saying, oh yeah, like they say, mice aren't geese.
Oh wait, that doesn't apply. Well, now that we got that out of the way.
Yeah. So, Alex, what were some of your favorite bits from the season?
Obviously the specials. The Columbia special was fantastic.
The Columbia special was amazing.
It was really good. I think it was better than the specials of seasons past, but I think the Mongolia special was the absolute best episode they've ever produced.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was probably my favorite episode. That was
fantastic.
Amazing.
10 out of 10. That's what I want to see.
The location.
Beautiful.
That was stunning.
It's really surreal. Like, you just can't imagine that some place like that actually exists on Earth, and yet it does.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Like, first off, what they had to do, I'm not going to spoil it, but what they had to do was I think probably one of the most ambitious things they've ever done, because it coupled a very long drive with a specific task, we'll say. And I think that was probably one of the most ambitious things they've had to do. Not to mention, they made it an hour-length special opposed to a 2-hour length. Meaning, I really hope they release an extended cut, actually. That'd be kind of cool.
They're not.
Because they have more than 2 episodes worth of footage.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel it would be kind of nice if they did. I mean, hey, if anyone works at Amazon and you're listening, extended cut. Really nice.
Extended cut. Come on.
Just seeing more of that, like, gorgeous Mongolian scenery. Like, that was amazing. And also, I gotta say, while we're on the topic of specials, that road trip special in the US, where they're actually, I'm not gonna spoil that, but that was really good too.
Yeah, all of it's fantastic. Even the non-special episodes, they're great too. Yeah. I would highly recommend the show to anyone.
Yeah, honestly, because it is just a really good personality show. And like I enjoy it not because of the cars. The cars are great, but it's about the hosts in the end. Yeah,
like you have to give the BBC credit for that, because they're the ones that brought these 3 people together and they nailed it on the head.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they got a formula and it was perfect. Like, I don't think it could be much better than this, especially because I think this is really exemplified in the last episode, but they really are friends. Like, I found something kind of
like they actually hang out together.
Yeah, it's like a little tangent, but when Mythbusters ended, a lot of people found out that Adam Savage and Janie Heineman just, like, don't hang out. They're not friends. Like, it makes it feel a lot cheaper, but the 3 hosts of the Grand Tour are legitimately really good friends. Like, they hang out, they know each other's families, and, like, they do stuff together. Like, I remember they did a birthday special at one point for one of the hosts, and it was great, because, like, it was a bit of a prank, but they also cared. Like, they actually took the time to set up a birthday party for him as a surprise. Also,
oh yeah, I remember
Richard Hammett's cooking segment was amazing. I loved that so much. It was so good. It was so good. Like, the way they shot it, too, they shot it like an actual cooking show, not just, like, some dude, like, faffing about in his kitchen. They really set it up. Like, he had a pre-prepared dish for the next step, because some of the stuff would take time. It was really good.
It's just, like, I don't understand how that show is profitable because of the amount of quality that's put into it.
And also, like, they blew up a helicopter this season. Those are expensive.
They did. They actually blew up a helicopter. Like, how do you afford that?
And also insuring all the cars. Like, they had to insure a McLaren Senna.
They had to insure the original Porsche 917.
Oh, they had to... No, I think they got permission. They have to insure it. But there's one bit where they drove Neil Armstrong's original Corvette Stingray.
Yes, that too.
But I'm not sure if that was insured. I think it was because it was a private owner. So I don't think they had to pay insurance on it. I don't think. Because they didn't lease
I don't know how it works, but they might have. I'm gonna turn off Sean's fan. What the Anyway.
Also, may I just say, the ending of this season, that last episode, was very emotional. It was far more emotional than... I'm not gonna say any show, because I've seen some emotional shows, but than I ever thought a show like this would make me. It was like, the whole history of the episode... The way they set it up, and then the ending bit where this is a spoiler, I'm not going to say it, but they had a very, very nice montage at the end. And they used one of the best road songs of all time. Layla, written by Eric Clapton, performed by Derek and the Dominoes. That song, it gave me goosebumps. My jaw dropped when I heard that come on. I was like, oh... This is serious.
Like I said, there's not terribly much that I want to say about it without spoiling it, and I think it's good. I think we should go and not spoil it because it's just not. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not.
You should watch it.
And in that case, I want to go on to another thing. What are your thoughts on the next season? Because they have confirmed they're going to be continuing the show, but they're going to be changing it a lot. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit, Alex?
Well, that in itself is a bit of a spoiler for the last episode.
I mean. It's online. You can Google it. Like you'll find out. But, if you Google Grand Tour, you'll find out.
I think that the next season, if it is how they described it will be, I think it has a lot of potential.
Because it's a bit where we're gonna have to delve into spoiler territory because we can't talk about it without. spoiling how it will be. And to be fair, it was publicly announced as well in a separate press release. So I think it's still public information.
So basically what they said in the last episode, they drew this thing out. They all stand up at the end of the episode and they have this montage.
Okay, no, maybe let's talk about the season. I don't want to spoil the montage.
Okay.
Because that hit me even though I knew what was happening with the next season. I knew beforehand, but that still hit me. I don't want to spoil that.
And they say, that's their last episode. Yeah. And then somebody in the audience at the very end calls out and says, keep doing it. And then they announce that they are going to keep doing it and that they're just going to change the format of the show completely.
Yes.
And that they're not going to do any of the tense stuff and any of the standing in front of the live audience and really anything that they didn't do besides going out in the field. So the next episode is going to be just the special type content. They're just going to be traveling around the world, driving cars.
Which, honestly, I'm kind of worried about that, if I'm going to be honest, because I feel like what makes the specials so good is that they're special.
They're just better than the rest of the show.
Yeah, and I feel like, in a way, also, having that extra, like, having the non-special episodes, kind of like having, like, an old friend to come back to, right? It's always like, it's going to be there, it's going to be good, but it's
also,
not going to be
there are
insane.
some bits that I'll miss. Like, the Conversation Street was always funny.
Conversation Street, the end of Conversation Street kills me. I love that segment so much. Like, that, I think, is genuinely one of the best segments that, like, they've had. And it really sucks to see that go. It really does. Like, I'm gonna miss that.
I feel like Amazon is going to follow consumer demand, so the most that we'll have to, if this doesn't work out, which, I really hope that it does. I do too. I hope that it's a good show.
I want it
to be good. If it isn't, they're gonna bring back some of the things that worked for them.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah. Just because I feel like also, with all the adventures they'll have, I feel like it'll get stale. And I think it really could just end up changing up. I don't know, I just feel like they could end up running out of ideas, if I'm being honest. Because you think about it, that's 14 unique, grand adventures they have to take. That's a lot. Like, it doesn't seem like much.
I feel like they're not going to be able to run out of ideas. My only worry for that is that it's going to run together for the consumer part, and for the production end, I feel like they might have some funding issues because they just don't understand how the show is that profitable. Like
that could be incredibly expensive. Because for some of the stuff they do, like in some of the specials, like I'm just gonna go back to some Top Gear specials because I believe they're a similar scale, but they bought like lorries or like I guess. Not really 18-wheelers,
That's the British equivalent of just
trucks,
a large trucks.
Like dump trucks. They bought a bunch of those, had them heavily modified, and had to travel around Burma through a bunch of unstable areas and stuff. And that kind of stuff's expensive, like getting visas, accommodations, getting the cars, making sure that they can drive, because like you can't just drive in whatever country. You have to get like licensure.
Also the film crews.
Yeah, and the film crews.
Let alone the staffing, hiring the Land Rovers that they get.
Translators, because you have to have multiple of those on board, especially if they're in a non-English speaking country. And translators are expensive. You'd be surprised.
And fixers if you're in particularly not touristy areas.
Yes, having fixers as well. Maybe not that they'd run out of ideas, but they'd run out of good ideas. Or they'd...
Land Cruiser, that's what I was looking for. It wasn't Land Rover.
I was be like, damn, are they really using Land Rover? Land Rovers.
Actually, in Britain, they use Land Rovers.
But like, I feel like that's an owned fleet.
But away, they hire Toyotas.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that's like an owned fleet. Like I think they just own a fleet.
They hire them every time they go. Really? They said that.
Huh. I thought it would be cheaper for them to just kind of have a fleet, and they could I don't know, Uber them.
I don't know.
They could just make them an Uber.
Okay, I dropped a bolt.
F.
Also, I said so.
Yeah. We're still gonna have to censor that. To be honest, there's no way we can get around that.
So that could be our smooth transition into.
It's time to take the knife of chat and run it into the throat of the homeless person of debate on Discussion Avenue.
Well, I just was going to say on that topic, Ramadan's coming up.
Yes, it is. For those of you who haven't heard our previous episodes, I'm Muslim, and Ramadan's our month of holiness and fasting and not eating in the day and trying not to swear. And I swear a lot.
On that trying not to swear bit, he swears a lot. And his current plan, which he doesn't even know is acceptable, he's just kind of hoping it is to just put little replacements like shid with a D.
Yes, or like bish. Or thug with a G and dang. And freaking heck,
if he messes that up, it breaks fast, and he's got to do another day.
So I did some research.
Oh, right, it doesn't break the fast. That's the one that doesn't break the fast.
It diminishes
it. It
diminishes it.
Yes,
and something I want to try not to do. Yeah, and also I won't be able to longboard as much because it'll burn a lot of energy, and during Ramadan you cannot eat when the sun is up, and if you bleed for whatever reason, it breaks your fast. And today I was longboarding, and oh boy, did I bleed.
He's like, hey, we're new to longboarding. Let's longboard to the faraway dining hall. We do that. Shit was eaten. Fair.
Okay, so for context, right? Me and Alex decided to skip visual culture because we weren't doing anything today. And I'm like,
that class. Actually, screw that class.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, let's go out to the dining hall we don't usually normally go to because it's a bit farther, and let's longboard there because the road should be relatively clear, don't should be on the sidewalk. So I'm like, all right, fine, right? So we hop on our boards, get about halfway there, I'd say. Then we have to cross the street, and then we get onto this open sidewalk. It's on what appears to be a very shallow incline. It's not a shallow incline. I think Alex was ahead of me. He got a fair bit of speed. And then just kind of ran it off.
I was like freaking out for no reason. Like I wasn't going super fast, but I was going a little dangerously fast for a sidewalk that pedestrians are on. So I was trying to do my foot braking thing, which I can reliably do, like just dragging my foot on the ground, not the like putting your toe off the board and destroying your shoe type thing like newbies do generally. I don't know why that's even a thing, but actually like properly using the whole bottom of my foot to slow me down. For some reason, I just could not do that, and I ate a little, but I didn't eat full on.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, I'm not that great at foot braking. Really, it's not my strongest skill. And I was going a lot faster than he was because my board holds momentum more because it's heavier. And so I managed to pull off a little speed. I can do a light foot brake, pull off a little speed. We're getting towards the end of the sidewalk, so I'm like, all right, time to stop. So I put my foot down, and it goes for a bit, and then it catches on something. I think it was like a crack in the sidewalk.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I think it caught on something.
It was a sidewalk crack, no doubt.
Yeah, or that my foot just caught, but either way, like, my leg gets pulled back, I try to come off of it, then, like, my knee buckles, and my leg gets dragged across the sidewalk by the momentum from my board. And it ruined the pants I was wearing, and I have they're in the trash now, but there's a like a nice sized hole in the front. And at the time I checked, I'm like, oh, it's fine, just like throw my pants, whatever, let's go to the dining hall, right? So we get up to the dining hall, and I'm waiting in line for some food, and I'm like, hey, I should probably check to make sure I'm not bleeding, because at first I checked, I didn't see anything. I pull up the hole a little bit, I'm like, oh, I'm bleeding a lot.
It's gushing.
It's bad. And so I'm like, hey, Alex, I'm gonna hobble out to the bathroom and just try and wipe it down. And so I'm carrying my board into the dining hall bathroom. I just kind of prop it up by the wall, and I grab a paper towel and just kind of like dab at it a bit and put some water and kind of carry on. But while I was doing that, one of the ripped ends got into the wound and got all covered in blood. So I had to tuck it into the hole, which made the hole look bigger. I ended up eating 4 slices of pizza, and I was like, hey, this is starting to hurt a lot more because like the endorphins were wearing off. And we ended up heading back. When I got there, my RA freaked out a little bit and yelled at me for not wearing a helmet. Although I had no head injuries. I just ruined my pants. I put hand sanitizer on the bloody bits, just in case, because I couldn't be bothered to bleach them.
Ooh.
And just kind of put in a plastic bag, threw it in the trash, with my ID in the pocket, which I found out when I went to go and get a salad. And so, luckily enough,
you and losing your ID, man.
Luckily enough, the person was nice enough. That's the second time in
2 days.
No, okay, just let me live here. So luckily enough, the person in the front was nice enough to like just let me put my number in. I ran back. I had to fish my pants out of the trash and get the ID out of the pocket and put that back in my wallet.
That's the second of 2 bad falls. We've each shared one of those.
Yeah.
So mine, it wasn't that bad. We were at the... What are we calling that place?
We'll just call it... the Outer Rim.
The Outer Rim?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're out at the Outer Rim, which is... It's a short drive away.
Yeah. Maybe like 5.
It's just a place that we'd like to go.
It's like a mile and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you watch the companion video for episode 7, actually.
That place.
There's some footage from there.
So, I was pushing up the hill. This is, like 3 days ago?
Yeah, 2-3 days ago.
And I was pushing up the hill. I ride goofy, which means my left foot is on the ground. That's my pushing foot. And I don't know really what I was thinking or doing, but my left foot kicked the wheel while I was riding, and then I fell immediately off the board, face first. I didn't have my sunglasses on, but I had them clipped to my shirt.
Oh,
and
that's worse.
They scraped the ground. Now I have two little scratches on my lens, but they're Ray-Bans, so they take damage really well. You can't even hardly tell it unless you inspect them. The only problem with that is that now they have this little weird reflected line of light that comes down, which is a little annoying, but I'll deal with it. And then also I scraped up my left hand a little bit, but it's almost done healing at this point. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, mine is gonna take a little bit. I skinned it bad, and I forgot how much skin knees hurt, and that is bleeding. It bleeds. I've changed dressings, I think, 3 times today. And I fell. What was it? It's 10 p.m. now, so 8 hours ago.
Wow. So if we're gonna go back into the regular weekly discussion format, I'll start off mine. I want to do mine in chronological order since that's sort of how I placed it down. So basically, since last recording, Wednesday happened last week. That's when I have my physics lab, and none of us are doing too great in our physics lab because the way that it's graded is kind of stupid and doesn't really allow for a good grade. So he offers an extra credit thing, right? Well, turns out the extra credit is basically impossible if you're bad at math.
Okay.
So it involves Calc 3 concepts, and the class's prerequisite is Calc 1. That's all. Which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Especially because it's really hard to take Calc 3 as a freshman. That.
Yeah.
Because you have to do AB and BC and do quite well in BC, I think, to get out of Calc 2.
Well, you could just have taken AB, gotten out of Calc 1, taken Calc 2 first semester, and then taken this with... Yeah. Anyway, that aside, it's dealing with partial derivatives, which is multivariable calculus. And we were all hurting badly enough with our grades to where I actually decided to waste my time figuring this out, and I got it down.
All right.
So basically, if you understand, which the chances of this are slim, but if you understand this, basically you have to always report an uncertainty with your values that you report on your physics lab. Okay, that doesn't sound too upper level. To get that uncertainty, you just type a little function to Excel, you give it your values, and that gives you a mostly acceptable uncertainty value. That's still not very upper level, right? The proper way to calculate uncertainty, at least for this sort of application, is to use quadrature. Now it sounds upper level. That's where partial derivatives and known values of the... Okay, so basically you have to do a bunch of reciprocal functions and find a value based on a few known values. That's complicated. That's it. I figured that out, gave the basic instructions on how to do it to my lab partners, and now we shouldn't be dying because the extra credit's worth half of a lab.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty good. Oh, and then I had my exam in my engineering class. Went pretty well. Don't really have much to say about that. Our visual culture class strikes again.
Yes. Before we talk about that, I decided to play with the flashlight again. Now I see Mike Wazinski when I close my eyes.
Don't. Just don't. So, in that class, as we mentioned earlier, we're required to make a come up with a story. Mm-hmm. So we were required to act out a skit.
A scene, basically.
Scene, yeah. And apparently we did a good job. Our teacher really liked it.
I think our teacher gave us the best reaction of the class. And, like, I don't think I'm even biasing this because...
That's a first.
Yeah, out of all of the other groups, right? He always asked them, like, why did you pick this scene? Why did you do all these things? He didn't question us at all.
He was pretty straight-faced.
He just kind of, like...
But us, he was smiling.
Yeah, he was smiling. He was giving us good looks. It was
chill if we chilled there.
He, like, commented on one of my choices of props. That went really well. I think we really got in his good graces. And then we skipped his class today. F's in the chat.
Also, I got on a Calculus 2 exam.
Drumroll.
105 out of 100.
Somehow. Good job.
I don't know how I managed that. Well, actually, I do. I spent an entire weekend studying, and I hated myself, but it was worth it. I got 105.
See, I have an exam on some similar topics. But I also have an econ test. That's it. Next week, in addition to the calc exam. So I'm gonna find a way to just kind of like double up and do a lot of studying this weekend.
But like, I just need to express this. Mind you, this was not an easy exam.
No.
I was like, first of all, there's no multiple choice. Like it is all you figure out the answer. And this professor doesn't even offer partial credit. Like as soon as you hand him your work, it goes into the recycling bin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking around the rooms and I saw several grades in the 50s. People didn't do hot on this one, but I did, and I'm proud of that because usually my last one I ate a little bit of it. I got a 71. But that should be dropped if I can continue to do this. Like maybe I can pass calculus with an A+. That's thrilling, but
I mean, hey, more power to you.
Eat.
I mean, I do know that this weekend I'm going to be totally isolated. Because I know you're returning to spend some time with the Moonmen.
Yes, I got to go check in with the Moonmen, see how they're doing. They're really awaiting my return. They get a bit anxious when I leave for too long.
You know, because they're sensitive. The Moonmen are sensitive. And I know Michael he's heading to the north to visit his family for a while.
Not the north.
The north. Because winter's coming.
Nope.
Fun fact, neither of us watch Game of Thrones.
Nope.
I mean, I kind of want to pick it up because I've heard it's really good, but... See, I did the math, and if I watch 3 episodes a day, I can catch up in time for the finale. So I might do that. Which is a good segue to my week.
Finishing mine up.
Okay. Well, let me finish yours.
Let me. I definitely didn't get 105 on my physics exam that was returned. Got to go to office hours for that one. And then we got lots of board practice. My max speed on a board as of less than a week of practice is 14. Actually, that was before a week had passed. 14.45 miles per hour.
Yeah. And
which, you know, it might be laughable if you're good at skateboarding, but like it's a little freaky getting that fast when you're new. I think I
matched it at 14.8.
Really?
Yeah, because my board, like I said, it has a lot more momentum once it gets going. And so, I don't know, it can get fast. It takes longer to get going. Once it does, it's going. It takes a little while to get up, a little time to get ready and prime.
But once the Viagra kicks in, it's good to go.
Yep.
Anyway, you can go ahead and have this segment now.
So, my week, I'll keep it brief. Not a ton happened, actually, thinking back about it. I started watching a new anime, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Really good. If you're a weeb, highly recommend it. It's honestly quite good. I think, let's see, we record on Tuesday, so Wednesday, basically nothing happened. Wednesday was chill. Thursday was relatively chill. Yeah, nothing happened on Thursday either. Friday, we're doing some editing. Our D&D session got called off, our weekly D&D session that Alex doesn't go to, but me and Michael go to. So I spent more time editing, more time chilling, did some more skating. Then over the weekend, I actually finished my CS project. And I didn't turn it in perfect. I think I had 1 or 2 test cases not working. But I think that was with I had to do basically no debugging. I had to fix a typo, and that was it. I'm quite proud of that. I think I'll probably get like maybe a high 90 on that, which I'm perfectly fine with. That was really good. I turned that in well on time. Oh, actually, Saturday night, I made a website with Alex. That was for the class of the one, the only... The Unix loving
Olive.
Thicky Olive. the man himself. His
Jonathan
assignment was,
Thicky
hey,
Olive.
use HTML, make a website. And by website, he meant basically a Word document in one font with an image and a hyperlink.
It is HTML without CSS, so white background, Times New Roman.
Yes. It's just
absolute garbage.
It was so bad, and we had to upload it to our school's hosting server, which I was having some issues with because I didn't set up my index file correctly. But that was just, I hated every moment of that. I made a little website about Charles Babbage, but yeah, so I made that website. I hate it. Because here's the thing. It's not that like it was required. We weren't allowed to use CSS or an HTML editor, which annoyed me because you can't tell if someone used an HTML editor. So guess what I did? I used a text editor that has some functionalities that make working with HTML a little easier. Sublime Text is wonderful.
So an HTML editor?
No, it's not. It's not labeled as that. It is labeled as a text editor. It's a text editor.
Sublime HTML.
It is a text.
Not Sublime Text. It's Sublime HTML. Renamed it.
The point is, Vicky can't get me, that bastard.
What if he does?
If he does, ass will be eaten, and it will be his.
Because you didn't use 80s style Vim, and I'm angry.
Yeah. And I didn't run Linux as my main operating system and use a flip phone. Because I don't think he has one, but I'm sure he wants one.
He probably does.
And Monday, nothing happened on Monday. Did anything happen on Monday? No, nothing happened on Monday.
I was able to skip my ECE lab because I did it all the last time.
I skipped Vicky's class because fuck that guy.
Just couldn't be asked.
Also, I found out that on that day we had I have a friend who's in my Calc 2 class and Vicky's class, and apparently we actually had class participation. Whenever I go, we don't have CP. But when I'm not there, we do. So because of that,
I hope you don't have CP.
I'm gonna plant CP on Thicky's computer. Let's plant some class participation on his computer. A whole lot of CP.
Nope.
I will plant so much class participation all over his little Linux Ubuntu boy.
Lastly, in the past week, actually, that's a bad segue. That's a horrible segue. I'm just gonna let just stop. I'm gonna let 5 seconds pass. Another thing that happened in the past week, Notre Dame burned down.
Yes, that happened.
So that's a rough. Bad thing. So it's a rough thing.
That being said, Reddit has taken it in some ways.
Yeah, nobody seems to
care.
Feel.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, hey, a few hundred years of human history is burning down in France. Let me Let me just make some memes about it and throw them on Reddit.
How about this? We'll throw some of the prime memes we found in the show notes.
I get it, but also it's a little dirty.
Yeah, it's a bit soon because it was literally on fire. It's a little bit soon.
It was still on fire as people were making memes about it. It's like, come on, man, at least let the fire go out and that could look really bad on those kind of people if it actually burned all the way down. But thankfully the structure was saved.
Yeah, but we'll put some examples of these in the show notes.
Yes, and lots of people have pledged to rebuild it. So I don't think there's any sort of Kickstarters or anything to help because they don't need it.
Yeah,
which is
French
a good
government.
thing. Yeah, the French government and lots of French billionaires have pledged lots and lots of money to help rebuild it. Mm-hmm. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, F in the chat to Notre Dame.
Yes, F's to Notre Dame.
F. That is what happened on Monday.
Oh yeah,
that's what happened on Monday.
That's what happened on Monday. See, I don't know what day of the week I think it is, but Monday seems like a few days ago.
It does. It really does. Yeah. All right. So, with that, shall we draw discussion avenue to a close?
Yes, we shall.
Okay.
Moving on.
Since we have time. We have time.
Yes, we do have time.
The much anticipated.
That's first. Yes, the much anticipated episode special. It's not a special. The segment where we talk about things that we hate.
Because boy, do we have a lot of things we hate.
It's brought to you live, and it's not brought to you live.
It's not. they're going to hear a recording of this, because how are they going to hear the song of the day?
But see, like, it's a special, but it's not a special.
It's not. Bit of preface. I think we set this segment up for, I think, episode 4.
It's episode 9.
This has been pushed back a lot. And this could actually be a recurring segment, too, because we both have a lot of stuff we hate.
Oh, 100%. I filled up one side of an index card with about a hundredth of the things that I hate.
So I think the way we're going to take this is we're going to be able to take one thing specific.
I hate a lot of things.
Yeah, we're going to do one specific thing and then one broader thing. So, Alex, I want to start with your first specific, because your rage will help me get in the mood.
My specific thing... Oh, there's so many to pick from. I honestly have not even picked out the one thing that I want to say, but the more specific thing that I hate, just for this episode, there's so many, is I'll go with fake rednecks. So
that's an interesting one.
Yes. So for some info on this, some context, I should say, I come from an area that is not urban, it's not suburban, but it's also not rural.
Yeah.
Like, my neighbor is not a mile down the road. My neighbor is a few hundred feet from my house. But also, I don't have an HOA. And, you know, there's no business that I can go to that's within a walking distance or even a biking distance. Like, I have to take my car to go to the gas station and, you know, or the grocery store or something like that. And... because of this, people in my area very commonly like to think that they're rednecks. And like, as you should know, maybe you don't, no real redneck acknowledges the fact that they're a redneck.
Yeah.
And these kinds of idiotic people will, like, they were so popular in high school. Like, way too high of the student body was these kind of people. So basically what they do is they'll get, you know, some expensive camo clothing and an expensive truck that their parents bought them, jack it up to like the legal limit or maybe even higher and get ticketed for it. Yeah, they'll get their dip and then go to school and put on their fake accent after they left their $300,000 house or more sometimes.
Also, for context, dip is chewing tobacco.
Yes.
Because I actually didn't know about that until recently.
How?
Okay, it was over the summer. But I just kind of didn't. Not a lot of people dipped in my area.
Fair. But they're just disgusting people, and I really just despise seeing it because it's like it's just a physical like reaction like that happens, and I just it's repulsive. It's not becoming. It's not cool. Maybe they think it's cool. I don't. It might be cool where I come from, and that's all. It's not cool especially anywhere because, else.
Like, redneck is an insult generally.
Yeah.
Generally, it's an insult.
It's not a good thing. You don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So quit trying to put that little show on. No one cares.
Yeah. Is that it? Fake rednecks, Alex?
Yes, that's the more specific thing that I hate.
Mine is something more specific from where I live, right? So, contrary to Alex, I lived, I'm just going to say it because saying major metropolitan area won't really matter, but I lived for a very long part of my life in the DC metro area, region we call the DMV. If you're from the DMV, it's the DMV. If you're not from the DMV, you don't call it the DMV. But I was from the DC metro area, right? And as a member of a diaspora community, like...
that makes a lot of sense.
I have a lot of family that comes to visit me. And... I despise tourists so much because when I go to DC, right, it's always the same. Oh, hey, I want to go see the pencil looking thing and the big Abraham Lincoln. And oh, look, I can buy a snow globe from a museum. There is so much more to DC than the Smithsonian and the National Mall. It has some of the best, like, Ethiopian food in the world. It has a wonderful jazz scene. Has its own unique genre of music. There is so much to DC besides the National Mall and the White House and all the, oh, look at these museums. That's like a couple of days. That's like an afternoon. That's not even that important. Like, who cares if you've taken a picture in front of the Washington Monument? So many people have done that. That picture's been taken by hundreds of people, and your little picture with your kids, and all, no one's gonna care. Maybe one of your Facebook friends will like it, but no one will care. It's a dumb picture. Go somewhere unique. Get some
sounds
interesting
like an r/fuck you Karen post.
Go to like District Taco if you don't want to like, I don't know, eat at like shady like back end joint which have the best food. Go to like District Taco, some of the best Mexican food I've ever had. Like I think it's better than Chipotle if I'm being honest. District Taco is awesome. Go there.
District Taco is great.
Or like, there's just
remember,
so many
kids, always stay east of the Anacostia. It's so safe.
Yeah. But just, there's so many great things about DC that aren't the mall and the other stuff. And this extends to like other places too. Like, I just hate touristy destinations because it's always the same crap and people just don't have a sense of space.
I don't get how people fall for that.
Yeah, it's like, also,
like, it's just, ugh.
Like, also, just have some spatial awareness. Like, walk on the correct side of the road. Or like,
so that's a cultural thing.
Yeah, that is a cultural thing. But also, if you're in a region,
but also like that's just part of coming to America.
Yeah.
Like that's just something that America trains you to do is walk on the right.
If you're an American, on the rest of the world, walk on the correct side of the road. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Like, this extends because also I lived in another major city in India that has a lot of tourism. Same thing. A lot of people just kind of don't walk on the correct side of the road and also go to the same crappy tourist trap spots, which are awful. Like, there's so much more to cities than the stuff you see, like, on billboards. Like, there's more to New York than the Lady Liberty. There's more to Paris than the Eiffel Tower.
No, New York is Times Square, dude. Come on. Yeah. Everyone knows this.
Actually, I have a cousin that kind of believes that. He, like, actually legitimately, like, thinks he's seen all of New York.
I just don't understand. Like,
he's been to, like, Manhattan for an afternoon. I don't know.
I don't even know how to explain how dumb then.
Like, there's, like, especially New York.
Michael, stop.
While I had an agreement that Michael would be a generic tourist. He would.
Yes, he would. Also, oh my god, Michael is the white dad of white dads.
When you take a picture, okay, don't be in the way. Move out of the way, find a spot. Like, if you want to take a picture on the stairs, fine. Don't take it right in the middle. Move to the side, find a spot where you're out of the way, and then take the picture. It's not that hard.
If you have to take that same picture that literally millions of people have taken before you.
Go somewhere interesting. Go somewhere unique. Go to, like, if you're in DC, go to, like, DuPont. There's great stuff happening there. Or, like, if you want to go to, like, Twins Jazz. That's a great little jazz club. I actually forgot where it was. I haven't been there in a while. But, like, the point is, there's just so much more to cities than these crappy tourist traps that inconsiderate piece of shit tourists go to. And it just pisses me off so much. Just because... It's also one of the reasons I hate Dubai. If you haven't listeners in Dubai, I'm sorry. But, like, Dubai is just a giant tourist trap. Residents there agree that, like, there's no culture. There's no inherent culture to that city. It is plastic. It is an edifice. Constructed by, granted, very smart business people.
Dude, I'm just looking at this beautiful photo that I have right here. It's of the White House. It's so beautiful.
I'm gonna start throat singing so loud that your wall rattles and stuff falls off of it. He's 2 rooms down. He's heard it before. My throat singing carries.
Yes, it does.
At one point when I was first mastering my technique.
I'm concerned for my headphones when you start doing it.
when I was first learning it, Alex, I'm practicing in my room into a wall, like into my closet, into some clothes. Alex sends me a text. Stop reading. I can hear you from my room. That was great. So I guess with that, Alex, what's your more broad topic?
So my more broad topic, and all right, it's gonna be difficult for me to phrase this in a way that isn't how do I say this? I'm blanking right now. I'm looking for a word. Hypocritical. That's okay. It. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
So just stupid and repulsive behavioral traits. Like, it's really not super hard to just don't, and like, and it's not like, oof.
Cut out, Sleepdrunk. Alex has trouble with words.
It's a little hard to describe them, but it's not the ones that are obviously like it can't be helped. It's things that just make you a bad person.
Like being excessively loud.
Well, that. But I want to start off with my number one, and this is the one that's a bit hypocritical, and it's elitism. Like, yes, I understand that I sound hypocritical when I say this, but I'm trying not to, because by the kind of elitism I mean like you know a little bit about some topic, and then you just act like you are better than everyone else because you know the little bit that you do.
Alex, do you know that I have in fact traveled through the Middle East, Alex?
Like, do you even understand design?
So today's show notes are going to be presented in Comic Sans.
And then there's a few in here that I won't say because they aren't necessarily things that you can just not do. And then sort of tangential off, not that. Sort of going off of elitism is patronizing. It's even more annoying. It's like passive aggressive elitism. I despise it as well. Just don't.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Like, elitism, like, it's just like you can be an experienced person, you can be a wealthy person, you can be whatever,
and you can just be
and just not be a dick.
Helpful and not a dick if it like helpful if it's information, or not a dick if it's money. Like, you just
like, it's really not that hard.
It's not that hard. Just don't be a dick. The number one rule in life: don't be a dick.
Yep. So that's a sleep drunk rule. Do what you want. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah. And then another one, resistance to change.
Oh, yeah.
Change is inevitable. Learn to live with things that happen and quit you bitching. Like, I'm done with hearing it.
There's a degree where I can respect, like a little bit.
There's a degree, but it is a very low degree.
Yeah, like stuff like, you know, not wanting to leave your childhood home.
Michael! Oh, sorry. Vicky! Sorry, I just had to clear my throat a few times there.
Did someone say Unix?
And yes, I think someone did. It was Vicky Olive.
Mm-hmm. The one, the only Vicky Olive.
She said Unix about 1,000 times, actually.
The man likes Unix.
People like that look back into history, they see 80s Unix, they're like, you know what? We didn't have the backspace key. We didn't have the arrow keys. We had old school Vim. Those were better days. How? How do you sit there and say that? How do you spew that shit?
Fucking old school Vim, no backspace. I had to use that. I really had to use that.
And then the one that Alavi mentioned earlier, unnecessary loudness.
Yeah.
Just, it's not that hard. Just spend a day practicing at it. If this is something that people have told you that you need to work on, or you have a feeling that you need to work on, just practice being aware of how loud you are. Although it's not that hard.
I will say, for some people, like, it could be a hearing thing, and like that is what it is.
I mean, I don't mean to pick on people like that, and I understand that you know, it could make it more difficult, and then that doesn't necessarily apply to this, but it's still not impossible for you. You can still just learn to compensate.
That's fair.
Then you can just compensate your loudness. But there are a few individuals
who will remain unnamed.
That are in close proximity to us on a regular basis that are just loud as fuck. And when you're trying to do things like focus and sleep, it's a little annoying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's my broader thing. Yeah. Sorry if I sounded like I was being elitist. It's just, I hate it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Mine is kind of related to my other one. I hate it when people mischaracterize like regions, and also I guess limit their scope. Okay, I'll explain it this way. Like, I found that a lot of American people tend to think that there are two places you can go to vacation, okay? There is North America, there's Canada, you have Mexico, you have America, then there's Europe. There's nowhere else. Like, you don't go to Asia. You don't go to Africa. God forbid you go to Africa, because you probably get eaten by a lion. Newsflash. I lived in Africa for 4.5 years. I saw a lion once, and it was in a fucking zoo, okay? Like, this is something that occurs to me because I lived in East Africa for so long. It's it's not like a hellhole. Yes, there's things that are a bit tougher, like internet's not as fast. You can't have like the latest stuff immediately. But when I lived there, it was wonderful. Those were some of the best years of my life. And I think Africa is one of the most it is the most culturally diverse continent on Earth. There are hundreds of different ethnic groups. Like, for context, I lived in the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. If you drive 2 hours south, no one there will speak, like, Amharic. That's the national language. That won't be a first language. People speak Tigray. It'll be a different culture. And that's what makes it such a wonderful place to visit. Because there's so much history, so many interesting, not touristy trap things that are actually have a lot of history, have a lot of culture, have a lot of importance. Like, for example, the like obelisks at Aksum I don't know where it is geographically, but they're these like huge spires that were built. So for context, Ethiopia was for a long time they've been Orthodox Christian, like before colonization. And there were these huge like spires that were built like I believe around churches that were built totally without cement, totally without mortar, just kind of like locking rocks together. And it's fascinating because these were just kind of built by hand without any modern like technology, without any like cement, just built. And it's just stuff like this where people think, oh, you go to Africa, you're going to be like wearing a loincloth hunting zebras. You're not. Just give it a chance. Give it an exploration. And also, another thing associated with this is that people aren't their governments. Like, for example, I think a really good example of this is China. China's government's not great. It's not. It's Xi Jinping.
As we all know from the Xi Jinping game,
I'll put
absolutely nothing happened on June 3rd and 4th, 1989. I don't understand why people keep saying that something did.
That'll be a pertinent meme. But that being said, Chinese people aren't all authoritarian, like, brainwashed people. Like, especially because I think China, since it's the world's fastest rising economy, they have a lot of really interesting, like, takes on aspects of like both their own and Western culture. Like, for example,
side note, that's kind of exactly why something did happen on June 3rd and 4th, 1989, is because the people were fed up with the government's shit.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. But for example, like Chinese hip hop music, Higher Brothers, they do really good stuff. I like their work. It's good. And I just feel like people discount visiting a lot of places. Like another example, the Middle East, right? If I go to a country in the Middle East with a woman, she's not going to immediately become covered in clothing and then bombed. Like, yes, there are dangerous parts in the Middle East. That is a fact. There are authoritarian, oppressive parts of the Middle East. That is a fact. But there are a lot of, once again, wonderful, interesting, culturally rich places that you can visit. For example, like Doha in Qatar, a wonderful city. It is absolutely splendid. Like, the rules there are, actually I haven't been there in a while, but the rules there are minimal. Like, you can walk around without a headscarf. You can, like, I think even wear a bikini. Like, it's not that restrictive. They have a great history. Like, there's so much great stuff to do there. And people think,
here's the problem.
It's the Middle East. Drones.
White people just think that if they can't get away with waltzing around being an obnoxious, loud American as they're used to, and having the police be right there for them, even if they're being loud and obnoxious and annoying, then it's unsafe, or I don't know anything about that region. I've never heard of Google or the internet or any way of researching something. Better not go there.
Yeah. There's also another thing, right? People don't realize it's very expensive to arrest a foreigner. Like, if you're in China and you use Facebook, Xi Jinping's not going to kick down your door and then slap you with the Communist Manifesto and like send you to jail. It's very expensive and diplomatically difficult to arrest foreigners, especially for like less than significant crimes. Like, I think an example, like in China, using Western internet, yeah, it is illegal in air quotes, but you will, as long as you're not trying to usurp Xi Jinping, you won't get arrested. Although this is not legal advice.
Number one rule to doing that: don't be Canadian.
Yeah, this is not legal advice. We are not responsible for your well-being. But
also, side note, they don't like Canadians in there.
They don't.
Little tensions there.
There's some tensions. Huawei. But like,
sorry, I just had to clear his throat. I'm gonna apologize.
They just switched over our HVAC loop, and so it's like air's a bit weird. Not what I'm used to.
Yeah, that's it.
But like, it is true. Like, yes, there are things that are less than legal in China. Like, once again, using certain websites. but they're not going to kick down your door and arrest you. They won't. It is very expensive to do that.
The entire People's Liberation Army will show up at your door.
It is both financially expensive and diplomatically expensive because, like,
which is the Canadian shit that was going on. I don't know how they got away with that one. They did, but we'll not talk about that.
That's a subject for another time. But it's just, and also like I said, in the Middle East, right? As long as you're not walking around like offering people free alcohol, because for those who don't know, alcohol is forbidden in Islam. It's a big no. Actually, in even some of the cities, you can get alcohol. You just have to like go to a hotel and not take it with you on the way out. It's really not that bad. It's
probably expensive, but it's there.
Yeah, like it's there. Like if you really want to get drunk in Doha, you can do it. It's doable.
So to the Grand Tour crew, you can get alcohol there. It's doable.
The Grand Tour crew are alcoholics.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they
don't be an alcoholic.
It's not good for you.
Get help.
Your liver will appreciate you. Yeah,
and your life and your family and
your descendants.
Yep.
Really, your liver. Like your liver will really appreciate it. Cirrhosis is not fun. Yeah, I think that about wraps up the ultimate sleep drunk segment. Stuff we hate. Let us know your thoughts. Social media, you can share the show.
Yeah, let us know if you like that. If you did, we will definitely come back because we have so many things that we hate.
And also, don't forget to share because it's a really good way to help grow the show. And if you can just like let one or two friends know,
it is.
Really
Please help us out. Yeah. Throw us a bone. Give us a share. Yeah. It's not that hard. Tell your friends. Yeah. Tell your family if you're comfortable with telling your family.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that bell button.
Smash that like button. Oh, I peeked out my mic. Sorry.
Annihilate that bell button. But actually, if you can find it, please do share. We'd really appreciate it. Yeah. And on that note,
so thank you for listening to this episode of Sleep Drunk. Remember that the first person to guess the song of the day on any of our social media or via email will get a shout out in the next episode. The song of the day for episode 8, which was the last episode, was Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs. Yep. And it was not guessed. Gotta start guessing, people.
Yeah, I gotta guess. I mean, actually, if by the time this uploads someone has guessed, we will cut that in now. But it's a song you've heard. You've heard the song. You've heard it. You don't know the name. You don't.
You don't. You don't know that name.
Yeah. And with that being said, the Sleep Drunk Podcast can be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. We will catch you next week.